Will the sponsor yield?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Moya yields.
Thank you. Okay, Francisco, just to clarify a few things
Yep.
here. Now, if a person makes their way to New York, and the first day they arrive here, and they start signing up for social services and everything else, they're not allowed to ask them their immigration status at all with that, right?
Only if it's not relevant.
Okay, how would it be relevant for social services?
Oh, right. So if it goes to areas such as WIC funding, if it goes to areas where you're enrolling your child in a public school, you know, those are instances where your immigration status is just not necessary to be asked.
Well, do you know if they would get like, all right, so would they get food stamps? Would they get any type of assistance?
If they're not eligible, they won't get it.
Will they get any type of financial assistance?
The bill doesn't change that. So
I'm just asking.
if they qualify, they'll get it. If there's a service out there that they're qualified to receive, then they'll get it.
So
we're just not going to collect information that isn't relevant to them receiving any type of assistance that we're asking for.
Now, some of these benefits we're talking about that they would be entitled to under the law, do we get money from the federal government for these programs?
Many of them, yes.
Okay. Do we have any idea percentage-wise?
TANF is 100% feds, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what the rest of them are.
Okay. And when you looked at this legislation, you modeled this legislation on sanctuary cities
No.
that are coming up? Well, isn't this in fact an attempt to create a sanctuary state?
What we're here to do is basically say, if you want to ensure that to the extent that the immigration status or citizenship is a qualification for a benefit or directly relevant to the element in a criminal investigations, questions about your immigration status may be asked. And some of those benefits, particularly those that deal with children, are given regardless of your immigration status, such as free lunches. I talked to you about WIC. And since your immigration status or your country of birth doesn't affect that eligibility, there's no need to ask.
Okay. Now, the other thing here is for terrorist screening database, okay? If we're not asking that information about their immigration status, how would we know if they're on a terrorist watch list or not?
That's, yeah, their names and their fingerprints, just like anyone that pops up on Homeland Security's or the FBI's terrorist watch list.
So would I be able to punch them into this database before I brought them up to arraignment?
Yes. The bill doesn't change that.
All right. And now, if you go to page 3, and they have the Office for New Americans, is that a new office, or we already have that?
It's an existing office.
It's an existing. All right, going to now right now, what happens is some county jails actually give an office to ICE so that they can interview people. Under this proposal, under this bill, no county or state offices or jails or anything like that can give any office space to ICE, correct? They'd have to kick them out?
Except for docs, because they have hearings, so they can be held there.
Okay, but a county jail cannot, or a city jail cannot give ICE an office. And the other thing too is if I have somebody in custody and ICE wants to speak to them, Then what happens is we have to notify them, right, under this bill?
Yes.
And if they can't afford it, we have to provide them with counsel, and
That's-
counsel's present
Yes.
when ICE wants to interview them. But at the same time, if the person refuses to be interviewed by ICE, right.
It would be if they're in the courts for their deportation process.
well, this is the jail too. If the person is in custody in a county jail, right, we have to notify him or her that ICE wants to talk to them.
Yes.
We have to, if they don't have an attorney, we have to pay for an immigration attorney, correct?
No, not yet. If they are in the court system for deportation, yes. If you're saying to me that they were arrested for whatever violation that is, you have to notify their attorney. So if they're arrested for whatever that is, it would be different. The legal services come in when they are in detention and in the process of deportation or facing deportation.
Right, so if there's an ICE, if they put a hold on, ICE puts a hold on them that you can't release the person, okay? At that time, and ICE wants to come in and interview them, right? They would have to give permission for ICE to be able to talk to ICE. So ICE would have to make an appointment to come speak to these people in a
Yes.
county jail, correct?
Correct.
All right. And now how this works out in arraignments is normally what happens in an arraignment, ICE will put a detainer, and the detain is good for 48 hours. Absent weekends and holidays, then it gets added on. And that gives the opportunity for ICE to go and get a warrant to hold the person, to say they're going to do, deportation proceedings. So far, so good?
So far, so
Okay.
good.
Now, according to this, we're not going to take the detainees. So what happens with this is if a person's in custody and we're not accepting the detainees, they get an arraignment and the judge sets bail. And when they set bail, if they pay the bail right away, even if ICE wants to hold on to them, they have to be released on that bail, correct?
Correct.
So in our case, where we have a big problem with MS-13 and other gangs and stuff, the gang members know to bail their members out quickly so that they don't get an ICE hold put on. You would agree with that, right?
So we're not here to change the criminal justice system.
Well, no, we are changing it because you're
The
supposed
Fourth
to.
Amendment of the Constitution is what we're saying that protects these individuals. So if you have a judicial warrant, you can hold them.
But you can't with a detainer. So
If a person is arrested and they make bail, correct?
okay,
And now you want to hold them for deportation purposes, you have to go and you have to get a judicial warrant to hold them.
that's before you
They
hold
can
them.
fax it over. They can do many things. Just let me go a little bit further. Is in the order to seize an individual by detaining him or her in a jail or prison, there's a basic requirement of a warrant signed by a judge or a magistrate issued on probable cause. And the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution applies to all people, not just citizens. So the courts reviewing the actions of ICE has repeatedly held that civil immigration detainers not approved by a federal judge or magistrate cannot be the basis of detention. State and local authorities who honor these requests may be civilly liable for money damages, and there are several federal cases that we can go into.
In what states is that? Is that in New
There-
York?
Third Circuit. And which one? State courts and federal courts.
Okay, which states?
The Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which state would it be? It's not in New York. That.
California?
I don't have the states in front of me.
Yeah. In law school, they taught me if you give them a California case, they'll throw you out of the court. But okay,
Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania.
all right. All right, and now go to page 6. Section 319GA. All right, this is legal representation, person unable to afford counsel against whom removal proceeding may be or has been commenced shall be entitled to representation by assigned counsel and related assistance pursuant to subdivision 1 of section 35 of the judiciary law. Was present in this, A, was present in the state when questioned, taken into custody, charged, summoned, or presented with the allegations of removal proceedings. So if the feds, if somebody came over the bridge from New Jersey and the feds stopped them here, we'd have to pay for it?
So if they reside or they're retained in the state or in an adjoining state.
Okay, so in this one here, if they're just passing through, when the feds grab them and say there's a warrant in a different state, are we paying for counsel here?
No.
Isn't that what this says?
No. Question
Okay.
and if they're questioned and taken into custody and summoned or be present with the allegation, and then it's reside in the state when questioned, summoned or present with the allegation of the removal proceedings, and the person continues to reside in that state or in the adjoining state, or if detained and continues to be detained in either of these states or adjoining states. Representation and related assistance provided in accordance with the subdivision, one of these sections shall be a state charge pursuant to the subdivision 1 of the section 35 of the judicial law.
Okay. Thank you, Francisco. On the bill?
Thank you.
On the bill, sir.
Basically, what we're doing here is we're trying to create a sanctuary state. And we have a little bit of political theater going on here. Because we know this is never going to pass the other house. But it sounds good in the paper. It looks good in the paper. The only fear that I have is our budget's $158 billion. $52 billion, or 1/3 of that, comes from the federal government. You know, we've seen the actions of this new president, and I don't think he's bluffing when it comes to taking away federal money from the states. So if we're playing with 1/3 of our revenues, we could face a lot of problems here. So basically, I'm not one, especially with the new president in the White House, where I want to play Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun with one bullet in the chamber. So I think this is a mistake. I think it's political theatrics. And I think we're heading down a dangerous
Mr.
path
Levine, why do you rise?
when we're playing bluff.
Will the speaker yield
No, I'm
for just a
explaining
moment?
my-
Just for two
I'm-
questions.
Sir,
I'm explaining
won't
my
yield.
vote. So, in my opinion, right, what you're doing is you're playing chicken with a semi. And I don't think we can afford to lose 1/3 of our revenues. So I think it's a dangerous game, and that's my opinion on this bill. I would be voting no. Thank you.